Hi, thanks for joining. I'm Pranav. In this video, we are going to learn how to write Python codes and see its output. We are going to focus on one specific tool, which is Jupyter Notebook. What is Python? You may have already heard of it, right? That's why you are here. So Python is a very dangerous reptile or snake, but we are not going to talk about that. We are going to focus on Python programming. It's a programming language. It's a very easy to learn, very simple syntax it has. Syntax means you can say kind of what keywords we are using, what rules of coding we are using. Just like in any language, we have some grammatical rules. Python also has some rules. To use Python, you need to install Python. The official website of Python programming is python.org. And you can download from here the latest version of Python. However, before you do this, please note that the default editor or the software or the tool which comes with this installation is very boring. It looks something like this, which I do not prefer. Okay. And as I mentioned that we are going to focus on Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook is what? It's one of the editors, or you can say the technical term is IDE. It's one of the tools, one of the IDEs. Okay, I mentioned the term IDE. So what is that? And what are these editors? So everyone, just think of it like we have just like to install or to use MS Word. What do you use? For MS Word or Excel, you need to install something. What is that you install? You install Office, right? The latest version is Office 365. So you install Office 365 to use MS Word or MS Excel or PowerPoint. So Office 365 can be called as an software package. And in that, we have many applications here. Now, IDs are what? Think of it like this Word that we have, it is used for documentation. Excel is what? It's a spreadsheet application, right? Same way, PowerPoint is a slideshow application. So the tool that we are going to see will be Jupyter Notebook, and it runs on top of Anaconda Navigator. So Anaconda Navigator is what? Think of it like Office 365 is Anaconda Navigator. And in that, we have a lot of things. We have a lot of applications. Jupyter Notebook is one of that. So to use Jupyter Notebook, you need to install Anaconda Navigator. The official website is anaconda.com, and you can go to download page and you can download it. And once you install it, it will appear something like this. Notice Anaconda Navigator. Now you can open it once it's installed. It's going to take a lot of time to open. Maybe it will take about 10-15 seconds again to open. You will see a very big logo like this on your screen. So give it some time. Let it load first. If there is a pop-up for sign in or something, you can close that. And once it opens up, it will appear something like this. You will get this window. Now, the logo that you see on my screen in this image might be different than yours. That's okay. Okay. So remember that Anaconda Navigator is a software package or a platform on which supports a lot of other applications like a Jupyter Notebook to write Python codes. We are going to use Jupyter Notebook. There's a launch button here. If we click on that, it will open into our default web browser. But I'm not going to do that. Why? Because if I open Jupyter Notebook via this option, my Anaconda Navigator will also run at the backend. It's a heavy application. I do not want it to, I do not want a second step, like let's say launching Anaconda Navigator and then launching Jupyter Notebook. I do not want that. So I prefer to launch Jupyter Notebook directly. How to do that? Notice here, I go to my start button and I search for Jupyter Notebook. And when you see, if you are also following along, when you see something like this, Jupyter Notebook, this logo, when you see, just open from here, click here, open from here directly. it will open a command prompt kind of this window pop-up. Let it open. Okay, once it opens, something like this will appear. And the same would have appeared if you had a launched Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so both pages are same. Now, please note that once you open Jupyter Notebook directly, like from your start button like this, then this command prompt appears. Do not close this command prompt. Okay, it's going to capture each and every change, or like let's say when you are opening a new file or when you are closing it or saving a file, it's going to keep the records here. Okay, now we are going to look at creating a folder and creating the Python files or Jupyter Notebook files to write Python codes. Let's see. On this page, I do not want to add a lot of folders. So what I will do, I will go to my documents. My documents folder is empty right now. Please note that this is from your C drive, your users. Whatever you see into this documents is actually into my C drive, my username, and there the documents folder. Notice here, this document folder is empty, and hence this is also empty on Jupyter Notebook. My file explorer document folder is empty, which is coming from my C drive. Okay. So if I go here, I have nothing. I will just create, let's say, let me create one folder. So first I will click on new, and then this folder, an untitled folder has appeared. I will click on the checkbox, rename, or let me just give a simple name, demo. Okay, and enter. So I have a folder, notice, in Jupyter Notebook, and the same folder must have been created here also, notice. Here also showing up. And what is this automatically created? I'm saving everything into Jupyter Notebook. So these are called checkpoints where we are saving something. Okay, so this is automatic. Even if you delete this folder, does not matter. Now, I'm going back to Jupyter Notebook application. And here in this demo folder, I'm going to create a file. What file? A Python file. So I will again go to this new. I will click on Python 3. When I click on that, it's opening into a new tab. This is called a notebook. Notice untitled is the default name. If I go to my Jupyter Notebook folder, notice it's saying untitled.ipynb. What is this? Everyone, please note that Python has different file formats. Okay. This one is Jupyter Notebook.ipynb. This is called Interactive Python Notebook. I for interactive, py for Python, nb for notebook. For our draft work, when we are working on a project, let's say we are working in a team and many people are working on the same file, we also want to write descriptions. We also want to write, add images. Just like in Microsoft Word, we do documentation, same way we want to do documentation here also. So we use those things, we write those things and put those things into Jupyter Notebook. And once it's done, then our final code we put into .py file. Notice here, if I go to my untitled notebook, if I go to file, download as .py. .py is a Python file. .ipynb is an interactive Python notebook file. And after that, when we want to deploy the code on an application, Python can be used for software applications also as well as web development. So in case you want to deploy it, if you want to put your codes on the production, then we create a one executable file, .exe file. Okay, so let's go back here. I want to give it a name. Let's say I'm giving a name, Intro to Jupyter Notebook. And I press enter. I have renamed it. This name will appear into my notebook list also, this folder demo. And notice if I go to my file explorer in demo, I have this also created. Okay, so whatever we are doing there and saving, all things we can get here also. Now I go back to this notebook. and I'm going to write some codes. But before I write the code, I want you to understand two things. In Python notebooks, we have different type of cells, code cells, and we have markdown cells. Code cells are used to write Python codes. Markdown cells used to write descriptions. It can also include images, videos, hyperlinks, and formatting as well. Notice in my Jupyter notebook here, by default, this box has been created. This box is called a cell. Okay. So this is called a cell, this box with a like rectangular box. And notice you can see here that it's saying code. That means it's a code cell. In a code cell in Jupyter Notebook, you will see this IN and this square brackets. In Markdown cells, these things will not appear. Okay. So let's write something inside. Let me write a description. Let me try to see what comes up. So I go here. I'm going to write I am learning Python. To run the code, running the code or executing the code means what? We have written something and we want the application to interpret it. For example, when you learn a new language, let's say you are learning French, someone is saying something in French, and you are a starter, you are a beginner in French language. So in your mind, you are going to translate those words, those French words, into your own language to understand it, right? So you are going to interpret it in your language. So same way in Python codes, there may be Python syntax, Python keywords, but we also want to see the final output. And to get the output, we run or we execute the cells. So this code cell, to run it, either I can click here or the shortcut is Control Enter. In MacBook, you can use Command and Enter. So I go anywhere here in the code cell, or if I select here also, that's also fine. I do Control Enter, and here I'm getting an error. Why? Because notice it is used to code cells accepts only Python codes. It will not take the description. To write descriptions, I will have to use markdown cells. Okay. And in a code cell, must follow proper Python syntax. Syntax, again, in simple terms, I will say grammar. Now, I'm going to convert this cell into a markdown. So now if I click here or anywhere inside, I go on the drop down, I convert to markdown, and then I do Control Enter to run it. Notice it's not giving me any error. So in a markdown cell, everyone, we can write a lot of things. We can write descriptions. For example, notice description I have already written. I'm going to convert this to markdown. I want to, let's say, use this Python image, or let's say this image I want to bring in. So I will just copy this image, copy image. I go to my markdown cell, and here simply I will just do Control V, and then I will just do Control Enter to run the code, sorry, to run the cell. And here we go. I see the image. There are different codes or syntax to do the formatting of these images, to adjust the size also, but I'm not going over there right now. Usually I do a lot of formatting, but for formatting, we can discuss later on. If you want to learn formatting, do let me know. I can prepare a video on that as well. In this markdown cell, let me convert this to markdown again, this new cell. We can write titles. For example, notice here, this is, let's say Python programming. Yes, first header title or highest level title. Then second level title, I am giving, let's say, Python basics. Then third level title, I am giving, let's say, data types. Okay, notice it's a different level of headers. So we can write descriptions. So we can write anything that you want. I am learning Python. If you want to type into bold, you can do that as well. Give double asterisk. Let's say Python programming. And here you go. It also follows the HTML syntax. If you know HTML, you can use this. Otherwise, if you don't know, no worries. Let me convert to Markdown. And here I'm going to do, let's say H1. It will be a small H1. And here, let's say, let's make give title 1. Okay. And then I close the tag and notice I'm getting the first level title or header 1 I'm getting. I can do some other formatting for bold also. We have some things. For color also we have, I believe for color we have font color equal to, let's say, red. It should be small, I believe. I'm not HTML expert. So let me try. Red and then let's say Python. Yeah, it works. So something like this. Same way we can set the font size as well. There are different tags for in HTML to do the formatting. Now this was a markdown cell. In a code cell, you have to follow proper coding. So if I create a new code cell just below it, and let's say I'm going to write, let me enlarge the size. I'm going to write, let's say 5 plus 6. I could do Control Enter. I can see the output. I can do I'm learning Python. Do Control Enter and you can see the output. You see this single quotation that you are getting. This is indicating it's a text type. This is just a formatting in the output. If you want to remove it, usually we use print command or print function. So I will just put this part into print function. And here we can get just the pure output. We can also do print 5 plus 6. And here we go. So that's about code cell and markdown cells. In a code cell, you write proper Python codes. In a markdown cell, you can add images, you can do the formatting, you can do proper documentation. I will show you another Python file, which is well formatted. Notice that my, okay, before I go, I will just save it. I will close this one. And usually it happens that when we are running a lot of files, the background, it keeps running even after we close the tab. So it's better that if we do not need, you can just shut down. Okay, otherwise it's going to occupy your RAM also. So I prefer to do shutdown either from here or go to files, select, and then shut down. Now I'm going to upload, this was how to create a new file. But sometimes let's say your colleague, your friend has shared a file and you want to use that. So for example, let's say I go to my downloads, I have a file here. This one, adds budget. I'm going to bring it into this documents here. So I have uploaded into my local folder. I have copy pasted into my local folder. I go to my Jupyter Notebook. It's appearing now. I can open it. By the way, here I am going to show just the what kind of formatting we can do. I will not go much into detail into this file. I will leave it for some other video where we are going to do machine learning, because this notebook uses some machine learning concepts as well. So you see here, we have a lot of formatting that actually we can do. If I, by the way, to edit or look at the inside the backend of any markdown cell, you can do double click. This is a markdown cell. Notice it's selected. Here it's saying markdown. Okay. So if I double click, I can see the codes also. So I'm using HTML tags to do this formatting. And we can do, notice here, we can do a very beautiful documentation also. We can do into Jupyter Notebook. And here we go. A lot of things are there. Maybe I will discuss these things into one of our next videos where we discuss on machine learning concepts. So this is primarily on machine learning. Okay. I mentioned that there are many editors where we using which we can write Python codes and we can see the outputs. I showed you only Jupyter Notebook. In the next video, I'm going to show you something on Google Colab. It is by just like we have Google Doc, Google Spreadsheet. we have Google Collaboratory. So using Google Colab also, we can write Python codes and we can see the output. It is also an compiler or editor for Python codes. It is completely online, so you do not need to install any Python to use Google Colab. However, it's a little different than Jupyter Notebook. So in the next video, I'm going to discuss on that. If you would like me to cover something else also, do let me know in comments. Okay, see ya.